So we're going to do another homework problem. So make sure you go to myaccountinglab.com. Remember, don't go to Canvas. Go to myaccountinglab.com, sign in, and then we're going to go over here to assignments, do homework, and then I'm going to click on short exercise. We're going to identify the account type. So hopefully this one should be pretty easy. And there's only one of them. Usually there's two versions of the homework problems, but this one has only one. So we're going to identify the account type. It says consider the following accounts. We can click here to open up the accounts, but notice they also have them listed here, so we really don't need this window. And notice with these windows you can always print them out if you wanted to check things off or make notes on them. So it says identify each account as either an asset, liability, or equity. So accounts payable. What type of account is that? That's debt, so that's a liability. Remember, accounts payable is something we need to pay within 30 days. Cash, this should be the easiest of them all. It is an asset. It's everyone's favorite asset. Owner capital, is that asset, liability, or equity? Well, that's the name of the equity account. Accounts receivable, these are amounts that our customers owe us, therefore it is an asset, has a future value. Definitely has a value. Rent expense. All right. So technically rent expense is not an asset. It's not a liability, but it's part of equity. In other words, rent expense is one of the three things that affect equity. So remember, the three things that affect equity are expenses, revenues, and then draws. So by the way, since we're talking about it, how does rent expense affect equity? Does it make equity go up or go down? It makes equity go down. But that's beyond this homework exercise. So it affects equity. And I already gave you the answer to this one. Service revenue. It's not an asset, it's not a liability, but it affects equity. And how does revenue affect equity? It makes equity go up. And when do we record revenue? And specifically, when do we record service revenue? Whenever you provide a service. So when we sell a service, you record revenue. All right, office supplies. So these are things like your printer paper, your staples, stuff like that. Now, this one's a little bit tricky. This book assumes that you bought a whole bunch of office supplies, and it's going to take quite a while for you to use up your office supplies. So your book is saying these office supplies will have a future value. Therefore, they are an asset. Later on in Chapter 3, we'll find out that as we use up the office supplies, we will increase the office supply expense account, but that's beyond this chapter. And then owner withdrawals. Is that an asset, liability, or part of equity? It's part of equity. And how does it affect equity? It makes equity go down. Land, this should be pretty easy. That's an asset, has a future value. And then salaries expense. Just like rent expense, it affects equity. Check our answer. Good job.